Before we begin our meeting, we would like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kma'ki people. We'll call to order at 7 p.m. I would like to acknowledge the attendance of the following. All council is present. Approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to change the agenda?
I just joined. There we go.
Approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to change the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as circulated for our council session for Thursday, January the 23rd.
Do I have a seconder? Councilor, yeah. Disclosure of interest on the agenda items. There are no disclosures of interest on. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Gosh, I'm gonna say,
Yes.
discussion first. There's no discussion.
No discussion?
Call for the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Disclosure of interest of the agenda items. Are there any disclosures of interest on the agenda? There are none. Minutes of the last meeting. Are there any comments or concerns regarding the minutes of December 19th, 2024? We'll now review the minutes of the last 4 meetings of council.
Sorry, there's only one meeting. It's December the 19th.
Sorry. Council meeting, December the 19th, 2024. Does anybody have any questions or require any amendments? Changes?
Town lighting, where's that at?
Under the report.
Yeah, I see where it is.
Yeah.
Is it happening or?
I can update on the town.
Oh,
Okay, the
good.
report if you wish.
Yeah, okay.
We'll move on. Announcements, there were no announcements of proclamations that were received. Presentations, we'll now welcome Jeff Winters, Colchester Ground and Search and Rescue regarding remote piloted aircraft system, RPAS. You'll have 10 minutes to present to council, followed by a question and answer by members of council.
It will be Scott LeBlanc presenting tonight.
Scott LeBlanc.
Yes.
You're welcome, Scott LeBlanc. You'll have 10 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Scott LeBlanc. I've been a member of Colchester Ground Search and Rescue for the past 6 years. Certified searcher, certified team lead, and I'm the chief pilot for our drone program. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present tonight and discuss our current drone program and what we hope will be the next steps within that program. For the purpose of the presentation, you're going to hear me say RPAS a lot, which stands for Remotely Piloted Aircraft System. When I mention the word RPAS, I'm simply referring to a drone or a drone system. Just wait for the slide to come up and you'll see an image of our current aircraft. So on that slide is our current aircraft. Although it is basically a training aircraft, it does have some applicability on daytime searches. It does have major limitations. It does not have thermal. I'll discuss thermal in a few moments. It cannot be flown at night. It cannot be flown in the rain or the snow. And it has a maximum flight time of around 15 to 18 minutes, depending on the conditions. And it can be only flown up to a temperature of -10 degrees. I just want to cover some of the benefits of operating RPAS on a search and rescue. So basically, the first one is rapid deployment. A lot of times, an RPAS team can be the first resource on site while the rest of the team is getting set up, so they can actively be in search mode. And RPAS can operate in varying weather conditions depending on what the aircraft is. The particular one that we're hoping to acquire will operate in rain or snow and temperatures up to -20. With the correct number of pilots capable of operating for a period of 24 hours with simple turnovers every 8 hours. Using our pass on a search simply means less wear and tear on searchers. We can also get that aircraft into dangerous areas that could pose potential risk of injury to a searcher. Inland water searches, there's a big benefit of using an RPAS on that. Traditionally, if we have an inland water body, we would have to contact a local fire department and request a boat to be on site. Whereas if we have an RPAS, we can simply fly the shoreline, we can fly the body of water, while at the same time sending ground teams around the perimeter of the shoreline. Automated flight missions, basically the pilots are not on the joysticks with the aircraft. It's pre-programmed missions, pre-programmed flight lines, pre-programmed altitudes, and it's simply recording video. If we set it up for that, primarily it just records images, so it snaps images as it flies along, captures that entire flight area. I've mentioned here that we cover area quickly, so one RPAS team. If we're searching an area of 1 square kilometers, that would take us about 1.5 hours with an RPAS. If we were to use ground teams to cover that same 1 square kilometer in 1.5 hours, we would need 700 ground searchers. And lastly on there, quiet operation. So a lot of our calls lately, autism, dementia, despondent, quiet operation makes things much more easy compared to like if you had a helicopter, somebody was autistic, had an autistic child, noise, lights, that can scare the child away. RPAS is much quieter and much better chance of not scaring that individual. Despondent I have listed on there, basically that's somebody that's in a state of potential self-harm. Thermal imaging, basically all objects emit a heat signal. And the thermal cameras on these RPAS, basically it assigns colors to temperature ranges. And you can see an example there. You can see a person lit up in yellow. They're sitting on the edge of in a field on the edge of a tree line. The image beside that would be a non-thermal view. So you can see how it would be very easy to miss that individual without a thermal RPAS. Next slide, please. If this video will play. If it doesn't, I can talk to it. Great. This is from a find in the US with the thermal RPAS. This is one Aaron was saying. Take the next slide when you're able to. So worldwide, it's been reported that over 1,000 people have been saved within our pass on search incidents. It's over 616 incidents across 40 countries, and North America alone, 312 people saved. That's only the saves reported through this particular portal. We know there's many more saves out there. And on the next slide, if you will, here's some of the examples of fines in Nova Scotia. And the very bottom one, you can't see it there, but it dates back to as early as 2014. The key thing to point out with these fines is it's all with a thermal R pass, which we don't currently have. And they're primarily at nighttime and in the woods. So you'll see a 70-year-old in 2014, 80-year-old in 2023, 70-year-old in 2024, an 80-year-old Malagash 2023. 53 and 58-year-old Halifax Woods nighttime with thermal 2019. And the very bottom one was back in 2014. That was parents of 17-month-old in Dartmouth. Next slide, please. I just want to touch on the differences between a helicopter on a search event compared to an RPAS. Nova Scotia GSAR teams were very fortunate to have the assistance of DNR helicopters on site for many of our searches, but there's clear differences between what a helicopter do and what an RPAS can do. So the helicopter, they're shared resources. They could be responding to wildfires, police incidents, even other searches in the province. The RPAS, it stays with the team, it travels with the team. DNR helicopter pilots are not search and rescue trained, whereas all our pilots are trained on search tactics, and they're CSA level trained. Helicopters, they're limited to daylight hours. An RPAS with thermal can fly for 24 hours. The helicopters are limited not only to the weather at base, search base, but also the hangar. If they can't leave the hangar in Shuby, they can't get to the search site. Depending on the aircraft, for an RPAS, it can fly in a range of weather, rain or snow, low temperatures, high temperatures. DNR helicopters do not have thermal capability, whereas the RPAS we're seeking would have thermal capability. The helicopters, they're limited to the abilities of the spotter. It's very hard for spotters to spot lost subjects due to trying to figure out what scale of object they're looking for from the aircraft. Whereas an RPAS, it can be live feed back to command, recorded video and recorded images for further searching within the images and in the video. Helicopters are unable to detect other aircraft. The particular RPAS we're looking at can detect other aircraft, and it shows it on the pilot screen. And lastly, the helicopters require frequent refueling, whereas the RPAS has hot swappable batteries. We established our RPAS program a few years ago. Back in 2023, we adopted our operations manual that meets or exceeds Transport Canada's regulatory requirements. And it's important to point out that if we were able to implement a thermal drone within the team, the program is set up such that we could immediately have that RPAS on a search site. Next slide, please. In the essence of time, we're not going to spend too much time on this, but there's an extensive training syllabus that all pilots need to go through, and that starts with training courses that are Transport Canada certified, a number of exams with Transport Canada, a radio operator certificate exam to be able to communicate with manned aircraft and air traffic control, and we do a number of in-house training sessions as well. Currently, we have 2 basic pilots and 2 advanced pilots. The advanced pilots, basically, they can fly in controlled airspace, whereas a basic pilot would not be able to. Next slide, please. This is basically our workflow, and it's just basically to show that it's an automated process. So basically, the mission is planned out in terms of the flight area, the altitude, and the flight lines. The mission is executed automatically by the RPAS. It will fly that complete area that's been defined for the search. If it needs new batteries, it will automatically return, land by the pilot, don't have to shut it down, put a new battery in, it takes off, resumes where it left off. And it's capturing images at each one of those points, which you can see with the yellow arrows there on the screen. We take that data from the RPAS after we've flown that area, and that goes back to command, and we have image reviewers that go through each of those images. And next slide, please. This is a particular software called Locate that we're using. The company that manufactures it, they extended us free licenses, unlimited licenses and training for 2025. Basically, we can take all our images from the RPass and we can put in a specific color. So if we have a lost person that's wearing a blue jacket, we could say we want to look for blue pixels within each image. We could feed it 500 images, it'll scan through quickly, it could pare it down and say in 20 images, we found something blue. You can then bring up each of those 20 images and it'll circle on the screen with the coordinates where that object was found. The image reviewer can zoom right in and see what that object would be. We can deploy ground teams to that location. It's also important to point out that that software, we're the first GSAR team in Canada to use that software, which is primarily used by law enforcement and civil air. This last slide here is the particular thermal RPass that we're seeking. It's thermal, it can be operated in a number of weather conditions. We're in critical need of this RPass. It's a proven technology that has been fostering positive outcomes across the globe. Unfortunately, due to the price tag of $20,000 with taxes in, our Colchester GSAR is simply financially unable to afford this critical piece of equipment. Therefore, we're reaching out to the town and asking for financial assistance in the amount of $2,000 to work towards acquiring this aircraft this year. I'd like to thank you for your time. I hope this has been informative. I'd like to thank you for your support of Colchester GSAR over the many years. And I'd be welcome to open it up for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Problem?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Quick to go through.
Yeah, no,
I know I had 10 minutes.
No, so have you asked for the county or the town of Truro for funds as well?
We presented to the county 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. And basically, they're going to talk to the province and see if there's anything there. We've already applied to the province last year, and that application was denied immediately. Every 3 years, we can apply for something called Emergency Services Provider Fund. That unfortunately does not support thermal RPass at all, or RPass in general, whether it's thermal or non-thermal. So the county was interested in seeing if the province may change their decision on that.
Right,
We as a team feel that's probably not likely to happen because basically everybody will want an aircraft.
Right.
These are considered aircraft, so I mean, you need to make sure you have the correct operating procedures in place, safe work practices, proper training. It's a long process to get here. And yeah, we've approached them. We've also approached the town of Truro. And basically they said they're not prepared at this moment to receive a presentation from us.
it's good to know, because we do a lot of shared partnerships, as I'm
Yeah.
sure you're well aware.
Yes,
So it's good to know that you presented to the other two as well.
yes.
And what about Millbrook First Nation? Have you presented to them?
We have not presented to Millbrook, but
Okay.
certainly open to.
Okay, sometimes we will do partnerships with them as well.
Okay.
So, so it might be worth, an avenue of seeking them as well, because I mean, I'm sure you don't just do towns to react to the town of Truro, you do the whole area. It's
Yes.
probably a little further than just Colchester County as well, I'm sure.
We could be called out to Yarmouth, or we could be called out to Cape Breton, so we're, yeah,
Seen you in Halifax a little bit,
Yes.
so, yeah.
yes.
So, so I certainly knew you didn't just do Colchester, even though that's in your name. So I just thank you for your presentation and all the work that your group does.
Thank you.
I know we're gonna be into budget, so we're probably we'll have to talk about it for sure. I mean, I can't say yes or no, that's for sure.
Okay.
But I thank you for the presentation. It's well worth it, and I think you definitely need it. I think the residents need it. For sure, like, we have a counselor that's very well versed in autism, and I'm sure she'll have something to say when it comes to the table, but we are in budget just the same as all other municipalities of China. But I would encourage you to go to Millbrook.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Very well. We have a second presentation this evening. We all now welcome Big River Cafe owners Renee Verboon and Annie Branch regarding the lease of 46 Main East. You will have 10 minutes to present to council, followed by questions from the council members.
Thank you, thanks for having us here today. I'll be seated here, if that's okay.
Sorry. I'm in my bag.
Yeah, thank you. Our lease is up at the end of March and we're looking for an extension until the end of June. That's all.
Do we have any questions? Questions here? No questions.
I'll ask a couple of questions, just, can you explain to us why you're looking for the
Yeah,
extension?
of course,
Yeah.
essentially it's to, have the least amount of lack of service between from transitioning to our current location to the new location.
So back when you asked for the rezoning, which would be almost a year ago.
Yeah.
What has happened since then? Because as you know, I was one of the ones that asked, especially about the electrical, because there was no electrical at the time. And I don't see an electrical mess there now. So what has taken place between May of 2024, when the rezoning was approved, to 2025?
Like in terms of renovating. them.
Yeah,
Yeah, so as far as we know, we're not the ones spearheading the renovations, that's on the homeowners. Essentially, they've had to, gather a bunch of information and work with engineers to get electrical plans done, to get, plumbing plans done, deck plans done from them in order to submit that for a permit, and then they can start doing the renos inside the house. The mass is no longer there, and S Power took time to come take it down so that the siding could get up. Yeah, just hiccups, and not necessarily hiccups, but delays and like, yeah,
There's a lot with renovating a building from residential to commercial, so.
and that's the thing,
nothing-
it wasn't even residential, like it was unlivable, and then you take
Yeah.
it to commercial code. and
So it's
just-
like, we're bringing it up to residential and then bringing it to commercial, so it's nothing major, just time,
Yeah,
paperwork.
yeah.
So, you're asking for a 3-month extension.
Yeah.
Do you foresee it being done in 3 months? Cause
Mhm.
from what I drive by every day, it looks to be a very, slow moving process.
Yeah, so they've done actually an extensive amount of work in the structure of the house. That's one of the biggest things that the engineers are looking for, is that it is structurally sound. Not only for someone to walk in, but for it to hold the equipment that we need it to hold. It's actually, I went in a few days ago and it's quite amazing, the structural work they've done, the leveling of the house. Yeah, so that's actually quite a feat in itself, and once they finally get the permit, which is again, we're just paperwork and time, they have everybody lined up to get in there and get the job done. So,
I take it that the owners at other projects, cause I see them working 11 at night.
I know they own a couple of other properties, but.
Yeah, they just work full-time jobs as well.
Yeah, I know, that's why they're 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 they're also, they're very motivated to get us in
Yeah.
there as well, so it's not a delay on their end.
their heart seems to be in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're right, they got full-time jobs, they got other projects, and to be out there last night at 11 o'clock was, or maybe not last night, but
Mhm.
yeah, I know I wouldn't be, but that's beside the point. Okay,
Yeah,
and you do have to bring it up to code.
mhm.
Any more questions? I thank you, ladies. We'll bring that for further discussion at our next council meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the written petitions and correspondence. We have no written conditions or correspondence that we're receiving. Business, staff report. The CAO reported RCMP Staff Sergeant Mark Rose.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Generally, just for the public knowledge, we would put the CAO report on the committee of the whole and bring it forward for information. At the next council meeting, at the committee of the whole meeting on January 9th, I did let the public know that we'd only had 5 business days, where town hall was open between, the meeting preceding Christmas and the 9th, so there wasn't a lot to report, so, I felt it best just to bring a little information report, forward to, council, and we're lucky enough to be, joined by, Detective Sergeant Mark Rose from our CMP this evening, which will, hand over to him at the end of the little update from their CMP and talk about a town hall meeting that they're going to have to talk about their 2025-2026 business plan for our CMP. So in terms of public works, just want to bring the attention of the public. Dennis Park skating rink is filled, and with the cold weather temperatures, we finally have some availability for the community to use the skating rink. Staff and volunteers were up this afternoon to flood the rink to make it safe and usable for the community. We're proceeding with some town hall renovations. Some people may have noticed that some of the solid fascia was damaged in the result of some wind damage in the last year. Those repairs will be done to town hall very soon. Riverside Avenue construction has been completed. We reported on that in December. We still have some deficiencies to work through. We've noticed some ponding and pooling issues in terms of grading on properties that were noted. We'll get back to that in the springtime to rectify that with the construction. General maintenance, we just want to report that we've conducted general maintenance on the water treatment plant, which is always an ongoing process, making sure that the equipment is up to par and working correctly. We've placed sand in the filter systems, which is a regular maintenance issue, just to make sure that the water filtration system is working correctly. Budget meetings, staff are working diligently on the budget for 2025-2026. That will govern the budget for April 1st, 2025 through to March 31st, 2026. We're working with the public right now in council. We want to ensure that there's adequate time to present the budget, ask questions, have public consultations before coming to council. We're proposing the following dates at the moment: Saturday, March the 1st from 10 a.m. till noon, and Wednesday, March the 5th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Those will be open presentations to the public. We'll present a draft budget, receive some questions. Council can be in the audience to hear public questions, comments, concerns. And then the process would be to bring that draft budget forward after we've made some adjustments to council in March for consideration. Community development, the province of Nova Scotia has adopted funding towards micro grants for the fiscal year. We advertised these last year, had some great success in the community. There's no financial commitment from the town's operating budget. The approval from the province is $2,500, and we'll spread those micro grants out across the community. The province of Nova Scotia's Community, Culture, Heritage and Tourism has approved funding towards purchase of an equipment shed at Town Stewiacke Community Center. The approval was for $2,000. That will be merged with the budget approved in the 2024-2025 budget to make the equipment shed purchase and replace at the community center in the near future. The municipal fiscal activity strategy plan is also complete, or almost complete. We'll present to the council before the end of the fiscal year. And we're working on our community development staff working on a craft dinner and hot dog community meal January 29th. We received 180 boxes of craft dinner donation from the community, several packages of hot dogs, and that's all in support awareness education for the local food bank. As a collective region, we're working on our accessibility plan, dismantling hate racism plan. They're both underway. The projects are joint with Colchester, Truro, and Bible Hill. Both projects are mandated by provincial legislation. We are to either have them complete or in the process by April 1st. We are in compliance right now and working towards that. The monthly newsletters are available electronically and posted on the town website, just for the public's knowledge and for council. Previously, we were mailing out a physical copy to every resident in Stewiacke. That's that's hundreds and hundreds of print jobs and $1 per postage. We've reeled that back. We'll be producing it electronically and producing it in paper where required. We have put hard copies at Town Hall, Guardian Drugs, the Post Office, and Foodland. So we're trying to hit all of the community hotspots and limiting our number of copies. It'll ensure our commitment to being a little bit more green and take away a little minor piece of the budget that we're spending on postage and printing. Tender for custodial services, we posted that on the Nova Scotia procurement site. The deadline for submissions is February the 6th at 2 p.m. It's a 2-year contract for services in the community center, town office, and library. And the STEP program, the Strategic Tourism Expansion Program, it's going to be presented in draft format to Town of Stewiacke Town Council on February the 13th. So we'll come forward with a presentation to the group of council at the next meeting at the committee of the whole. I've asked Fire to provide some updates. Also asked Mark Crozier, our fire chief, to come in the near future and do a little update for council a little bit more formally. They gave me some end of the year numbers just in terms of where they've been at. 248 calls for service in 2024. 131 of those calls are for medical emergencies, which is 52.8% of all calls. Their membership, they currently have 39 active members, in addition to 3 junior members. This year, the fire department joined the local Swiftwater Rescue Team. The team consists of Brookfield Fire Emergency Services alongside Lance Volunteer Fire Department. They currently have 5 trained members on the team, with 6 more planning to take the course in the spring. Christmas Eve was a big success for the fire team. I think we all saw them on the community raising food donations for the local food bank, and it was a great event. It was a great opportunity for them to highlight they received their new fire truck on Christmas Eve. So great new addition to the equipment needed to fight fire and emergency services in our community. And the team continued to work on their training grounds. And they have 3 containers, including a second story, which allows Stewiacke Fire Services to further practice specific skills to keep our community safe during fires and emergency calls. So that's where they're at. RCMP updates are also in this report. We're joined by Detective Sergeant Mark Rose from the RCMP. Asked him to give council a little bit of an update as to where RCMP is at. He might talk about the town hall that RCMP is holding to provide some opportunities for the public to give RCMP some feedback and work with our community. So I'll hand it over to Detective Sergeant Mark Rose.
I have some questions before you do that. Budget meetings.
Yes.
So you're saying you're going to present the draft budget to the public before you bring it to council? Is
No,
that
so
what I heard?
council will receive a copy of the draft budget.
Mhm.
We will present the opportunity for council and the public to have the draft at the same time. We will take questions, comments, we will make revisions, and then we'll bring it forward to council in March.
Should the draft budget not come to this table first, so that we at least have some idea, so that we can talk about it, so that we have questions that may need to be answered? It's unusual for the budget not to come to this table first.
Yeah, I can take direction from council as to whatever the process you wish to happen. It will, if we want to get the draft budget to council before we go to the public, our first opportunity probably to do that would be at the beginning of March. If we want to have public consultations in February, we would have to have a draft budget to committee of the whole on February the 13th. Which I don't know that that's possible based on the timelines we have right now.
So maybe we need to push back I would,
That's totally.
my preference would be that the budget comes to the council table. I don't know, but that's just my preference.
Yep.
Because we may already have concerns with what's in the budget.
Yeah.
But that's only me.
I'm happy to take that feedback and make adjustments. That's why we said we're proposing at this time. So happy to take those comments and make adjustments.
My other question was just about the water treatment plant.
Yes.
So is it working properly, 100% right now, no concerns?
I have no reports of any concerns right now. It's status quo. The equipment is being maintained and operating as it should. When we talk about the water treatment plant, any issues we have generally in the summer during low flow seasons in the river. So right now, water supply, everything seems to be working status quo and properly.
Okay, perfect. That's all the questions I had.
If we bring the budget here first, we'll do a public, then we're gonna come back and revise the budget again.
That's correct.
So there's 3 steps.
That's correct. Yes.
So are you proposing to have the budget brought here and we discuss it and make any changes and then just go out to the public, or bring it back to council? After council has their first change?
Are you asking me a
Yeah,
question?
sorry, what your preference is.
Is that okay, Chair?
Yeah.
Okay, I was surprised to see it go out to the public before council receives it. Normally, council receives it, we have discussion, so, I think my preference would be that it come to the council table. We at least have one meeting to look at it ourselves, and then we go out to the public. Budget takes more than just 2 meetings, or normally does, so I don't foresee, it dragging out to June, but it could drag to April. But that would be my preference, that it come to council first. At least us have a look at it to see if there's anything that council may like to be included in the budget before, and then go to the public and then bring it back. It usually takes 2 or 3 meetings anyway.
I know,
Yeah.
I've done it for 8 years. I guess what I was asking is, in your proposal, and this is just, I can go through you if you would rather, just, for discussion purposes, to have it brought to council and we discuss it, then would you like it to go back to staff members as your preference and have the changes and brought back to council
Oh.
again before it goes out to the
Oh,
public?
no,
Sorry,
no,
that's
no,
more what I
sorry,
was
no, I thought, come to council, get our input and then go to the public.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
sorry.
what I was looking for
Yeah.
clarification on, as far as,
Sorry.
as far as the staff's time and whatnot as well.
Thank you for that.
Back to you.
Yeah, we'll take that feedback. I'll look at dates and propose some dates. We may need a special budget council meeting. So I will look at that tomorrow with staff and we will report back. Nothing's set in stone at this point. It's more for information, get the conversation going. And we'll make adjustments to the calendar.
That's only my preference, though. I'm only one.
Well, that's my preference too. I do have a question or two. That's why I had the budget sent to me.
Yeah. That makes sense. I will report back to council on dates.
Now we'll pass to Jeff.
Over to Mark.
Over to Mark.
With our CMP update, if council doesn't have any more questions of me.
Okay, I'll try to update you on some of our numbers for 2024 and what we've seen so far in 2025. I'm definitely open for your questions and any concerns or questions you have. So in 2024, the Colchester District RCMP were dispatched to 8,345 calls. If you run other numbers, self-generated files, things like that, it was 8,937. That's not including phone calls and other types of activities. In the breakdown for Colchester District RCMP in that 2024, other dispatches based on a priority basis, priority 1 to 4, priority 1 being a loss of life or need for police to prevent a loss of life. We would have dealt with 278 of those files of that 8,345. Priority 2 files was 3,864. Priority 2 is urgent, dispatch as soon as possible. Need for police presence to prevent loss of life or potential of escalation of violence. So when you combine the priority 1, priority 2, that's about 50% of our call volume. The lower end files, priority 3 and priority 4, we saw 4,016 priority 3 files. These would be dispatches whose regionally possible reports do not require immediate police assistance. And then we would have had a low number of priority 4, 187. And these are generally files that can be sent to a callback unit, and to be blunt, are files that really shouldn't become police files, okay? So we're looking at 50% in that priority 1 and 2, high risk, urgent, and then 50% mostly priority 3, yeah. Break and enters, things like that. So that's how Colchester RCMP members are living their daily life with that kind of dispatch. For context, in 2023, that number would have been 8,188, in 2022, 8,145. For those kids dispatched from the Operation Communication Center in Dartmouth. Give some context. For 2024, for Stewiacke files, it would have been 1,586, okay? The year to date so far, we have 66, and I think as of the notes here on, when you reached out to me, Mark, it was, what was the number? 48 occurrences, and Colchester District as a whole had 368 occurrences January 1st to January 15th, so. Heavily involved, in recent months, we had 3 homicides, a lot of mental health files, drug investigations, but the homicides have really taken up a lot of our manpower. Fortunately, we're assisted by the Northeast Nova Major Crime Unit. Yeah, just did a fairly significant file yesterday with emergency response team, related to a home invasion in the county, but we actually did the door kick and intervention in the town of Truro. Took 6 people in custody, so that was all over the news yesterday. In terms of manpower, I guess I'll give you, from when I started in mid-March of 2024, we were 7 ODS and multiple hard and soft vacancies. There's been a extreme turnaround in that period of time. Right now, we're at 2 ODS, 1 likely discharging permanently, another undetermined, and 1 is in a graduated return to work situation. But we're able to basically restaff the positions that were being utilized for frontline operations and back to where they should be more in a general investigation detective roles. Corporal Terry Brown just promoted into the general investigation section as accompanied by Constable Jordan Carroll, and Adam Merchant will be joining him soon. So that has really enhanced the bench strength of our capabilities. Getting a lot of newer members in. We've received Constable Wall, Constable McDonald, and a Constable Clark just in the last month and a half. So we're seeing trends that all employers are seeing, younger workforce and very hard recruiting. So that's but we've received a lot of manpower, a lot of recent manpower in 2024, and yeah, so it's looking on the up and up and positive moving forward. So I still have some work to do in that area, and what you can expect from me in 2025 is an ask to the municipality, Colchester municipality, for additional resources. So yeah, so that's some little main things I wanted to cover. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Well,
Councilor Roth? Oh, yeah, sorry. Councilor Noel?
yes. I know she asked a lot of questions.
I was looking at her because I thought she was gonna start saying something.
The long and short of the story is, of course, you hear all the complaints that you're not around, but I can attest you are around. I just stopped at midnight one time.
Okay.
Going into the church, I had 2 funerals next day, left a piece of paper home, come down, didn't clean all the stuff off my car, but Scout had a few words for me. Everything turned out fine, but I was an RCMP chaplain then at that time.
Yeah.
So I tell people, and my mother was sick at that time, so I often came into the community late at night and I would see you people around.
Mhm.
But what I did, you did 48 incidents here in 15 days?
Yes. 48 occurrences.
Or occurrences.
They're files, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of was curious how much time you spent on a file, so I just put 2 hours on a file average. Because you gotta go to court and all that other fun stuff. So it came out to be about 6.4 hours a day that you were spending doing work for us here in town of Studio.
You, 2 hours would be a lot, some of these files, let me look at what I have in my.
But that's okay, I'm just trying to say that,
It would depend on the nature of it.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I mean,
bureaucracy, it heavily exists in police paperwork. But a simple, okay, we have a bender collision, injury NVC outside here. Generally, that's gonna tie up, okay, an officer to attend the location, deal with the location, and then. They're getting quicker at it, but 30 to 60 minutes of paperwork for some of these
that's what I
files.
mean, yeah.
It's, and we're more or less following direction from the province of Nova Scotia on how they want accident reporting done. Um, that's above my pay grade. But if you look at large municipal cities, Ottawa, places like that. That doesn't happen. If you have an accident, you go to a drop-in location, you fill out your reports. So I'm sure you have experience like that in the GTA. So, yeah, it's very time consuming.
what I'm trying to say is I discovered you're here a lot more, doing policing here a lot more than I would have even imagined.
I think Studiac, not a problem for you, it's a problem for me. We have a number of members living down this way now or nearby Milford area, Shubenacadie area. 2 members just settled in the Studiac area. Couple in Lance, and they're starting here. And they're actually Bible Hill assets, so it's something that I'm telling them, I support them in starting in Studiac and ending in Studiac. If police vehicles are available. As I would rather see them drive in a police car to where they have to go than, so yeah, you would be getting, it's a problem for me, not a problem for you. Yes.
Okay.
But one of the things I've been stressing and really pushing with my management is, I want people who reside in part of the community. So we just had a guy coming from Richmond, BC. His dad's a farmer from, I'm not gonna say his name, but from just on the other side of the river, literally. And that's where he's settling and so he's part of the community. So so that's good for us. We just hired a PSE waiting on security clearance. She's actually married to a farmer. She's gonna be our public servant working out of Studiac detachment part-time, which is 3 days a week. And she's from the Cloverdale area. So these are the things I really wanna see. I myself live in Valley, Bible Hill area, and I'm active in coaching, soccer, and being part of the community is really important for police. And some of the myths and misconceptions I've heard from certain groups, not so much at this table, is that the RCMP move around a lot and are part of the community. And I think right at the top down to lower level, you see that dispelled a little bit. Those days of the Mountie moving every 1 to 2 years are gone. I've lived in Colchester County 10 years. My wife works here. My kids are in school here, so we're pretty engaged. You'll see that general trend here now in the RCMP. We don't move around like we do it, like we used to, or even forced to move anymore.
Okay.
Once again, it's a problem for the RCMP at the national level. Not so much in Nova Scotia, but at the national level, it impacts things, but, yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councilor Osborne?
I have a few. So concerns that I have heard from the community, and I'm happy to hear that you hope to have a community meeting here, because I know that's one of the things that as a council, we have asked and have almost, well, basically promised our residents that we will have one here. So I hope that's on your radar and on your schedule to actually host one here for our residents. But some of the things I've been hearing about speeding, theft. And our people reporting. I'm just gonna go through a lot. I'm really happy to hear that about the community and that we do have more presence here, whether it is just a drive-in or not, because they may come pick up a vehicle, but something might be happening at the same time. So I look at response time, especially at night. And when you talk about your sick leaves, I know that's hard to backfill sometimes. So with all of that, I was also happy to hear you say that we have someone coming for the office 3 days a week. I kind of like you to elaborate on those hours, if they're gonna be full-time hours or just 10 to 2. As well as I'd also like you to talk about what can we do to support you? Again, you've heard that we're gonna have budget discussions very shortly. I know that in the past, I think have the equivalent of 1.5 full-time members. I think that's right. So, but what does that actually be, right? And if there is, you know, drinking and driving, like, we used to have a really, active, MAD chapter, and you would have spot checks. And I know because I was going to an event and I got stopped in one of them. But my son was driving, so I was being very good. So I don't see that happening anymore. I don't see the MAD chapter here. I don't see the proactiveness of trying to get drinking and driving or impaired driving, whether that's drug or alcohol. Those are types of community things that I would like to see come back. So there's a lot in that, but if you can address some of it,
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about the detachment. So we had Vicky Taylor for years, excellent.
everybody
And,
knows
everyone
Vicky.
misses Vicky,
Yeah.
so we had two issues, Tatamagouche and Stuart, both have been filled through tedious government of Canada, the job processes. So Jessica Chapman has been identified for Stuart. She's changing her name because she's married. She's using Chapman now. I'm trying to remember what her married name's gonna be, but she's married to a farmer from around here. I think she's active in the curling club, volunteering with the junior curlers and everything already. So like, it's exactly what I wanted to see. I was involved in the interview process and hiring her. She comes from Veterans Affairs, so extensive knowledge in the financial authorities and financial management, and she's probably gonna be even underutilized where she is, but I think she's making this as a lifestyle choice for her family situation. So we're getting a top gun into this role, which is very good for everybody. So we've got to get her trained up in the processes. So she may be done security clearance, let's say early February, then we got to get her trained up, okay? But shouldn't be too long. My goal with her is to work with her schedule, and what I'm thinking is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, counter service in Stewiacke. What I've really pushed since I started, ensure that phone so calls that come in the closer just your RCB coming in 2 ways. Between 8 to 5, when the offices are opened, the calls come in and they're taken, the non-emergency calls, and the 911 calls would go through the operation communications center. After we shut the phone lines down, they all go through the operation communication center. So during that 9 to 5 period, a call that comes in Colchester District RCMP, if the lines are tied up in Bible, it's gonna go to Tatamagouche or Stewiacke, and vice versa.
Okay.
So that's what I try to set up, and then that gives me maximum efficiency for all offices, and then it alleviates some of the stress on the high volume that we see in Bible Hill. So hours, yeah, I'm gonna work with Jessica on that. If she wants to work 8:30 to 1:30, I don't really care. If she wants to work 9 to 2, whatever it is, I don't really care. I'm willing to be flexible on that with her. What does the community think about that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we'll seek input on that, and that's where town hall would have benefit. But right now, I generally try to work with my employees and especially ones with younger kids, I try to be flexible. So, yeah, that's my view of the world, but I'm open for listening, so on that. So, but the counter service right now has been, poor in Stewiacke in terms of, I had, one person up here this week. One, I don't think I had anyone up last week, or did I have one? That's all blurred to me. And I'm essentially getting a Bible worker to come down here, and that's been Monday and Tuesdays, for essentially since I started, so a long period of time. And that's coming to an end, but I think you've been underserviced in the front counter service point of view, since I've been here. Now, with the road work on that Stewiacke detachment, maybe no one to go to the counter anyways, but, yes, that's my blunt assessment of that. Does that answer it?
Yeah, no, that answers that.
In terms of impaired driving and things like that and first response, yeah, we have the members starting here. They almost always get drawn into the center just where the calls are. They just pull away. We try to have an officer sitting here. Constable Wiley, Greg Wiley is a Stewiacke assigned member. He's on the Stewiacke collator code. He lives just out here. And him and his wife's in the major crime unit. So he tends to want to hang out here. He's close to home, right? And but you see him get pulled away all the time. When my goal is, let's say, get more resources and when you manage members, that will at least allow me to strengthen some kind of zone policing. Keep in mind, you're not the only people in town. I know the western side of the county, down Five Islands, Accountant Porter are always on me to get out there. And it's really tough to do. I sympathize with their concern. It's really tough to do because you send someone out to Economy for an hour drive. As soon as they get there, they get called back. But even doing enforcement out there, you get tied up for an hour waiting for a tow truck to come for 2 hours. So these are some of the logistical issues. And then, okay, you got a speeder and then got no insurance. It might sound like a big deal, but it's not a big deal when someone's in a domestic situation. It becomes a really low priority for us. So we got to think about the public safety first. I've got a good frontline supervisor team now. That's really changed since I've been here, and lots of experience, lots of good judgments. So, give some context, to give an example. 2 days ago, I think it was, we had a incident of impaired driver on the 102 coming northbound with an East Hants, low speeds, high speeds, came up here by the Ultramar, stopped in the middle of the road. And the closest unit to that was actually an East Hants member sitting just right at the boundary, and we just said, okay, you're the closest unit, go there. So you're no longer East Hants RCMP, you're now Colchester RCMP, and this is the priority. You go to, he's there in minutes. And arrested a guy, drug recognition situation. I saw the pictures, it looked like a bag of cocaine had blown up in the interior of the car, it was powder. I don't know what the hell the guy was doing, but it was a rented car from the airport, and guy is in custody now. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on that you don't even realize that doesn't make it to the media every day. So I brought up that point just to let you know that although that member might be let's say he's sitting in Indian Brook right now, okay? How the RCMP service with the OCC and the risk matcher, and that was my former role as a risk matcher. If there's something serious going on here, life and death, one of those priority 1 or 2 calls, and members aren't gonna get there in a timely manner, they're just gonna say, hey, you're there, you're going. Not up for debate, it's command and control, that's where the paramilitary side of things comes in, and that's it. Or there's the one Colchester there, we need a backup member, okay, East Hants you're going, but that goes the other way too. So that's how we operate with the high risk stuff, and it's gonna get attention that's high risk, okay? And these units are getting deployed from wherever, so, yeah. So just understand that oversight is there 24/7 with that risk matcher and the OCC. And like I say, with those priority 1 and priority 2, the units are just getting told you're going, so, yeah.
So speeding is a huge issue. I think we've talked about it at probably every meeting. Um. I live on one of the longest dead end streets in town. I am scared to death a child's gonna get hit.
Mhm.
But also on the highway, I'm on the highway, of not as much as I used to be. But more often now, I am seeing people, not just the regular speeding, but cutting in and out. And weaving, and like, and it's dangerous. But I used to see RCMP officers on the 102. I don't see them as often. Sorry,
There was 3 on Tuesday.
oh, what were you doing?
I see them all the time.
I was driving to work, one had one pulled over, one was in the median.
You sure they weren't after you?
No, cruising over
So
there.
like, it's, and I know it's time of day, it could be just, you know, what I'm seeing at that particular moment. But there's a lot of stunting, you see it in the news, you see like, I'm not saying that's happening on my street, but there's a lot of speeding and it's. I am very fearful, we're getting more and more young families on my street, that something is gonna happen.
Yeah, your concern is a common concern right across the county. And I've been 22 years in now, and the civility in society's gone now too, and it's been social media and the fast and furious has promoted this behavior. Some of these high-risk offenders, which are usually young men, let's stereotype them all the way because it's true. That's why they pay more insurance. They do believe they're untouchable, and I do believe that we're not pursuing, yeah, in a lot of cases. So we have the driving skills, we have the cars that can keep up, but at the end of the day, we don't wanna see these offenders get killed because they run from us. And the most important, is public safety. We don't wanna see, them drive into an innocent and take them out, so a lot of the speed enforcement, we're seeing lately are, they're running and we're not pursuing, we're just shutting it down. There are cases where we take a more strategic approach and set up. Some of the best ways today to deal with them is everything's recorded. If you got a video of these people, if you know these people and they're common offenders, we need help from the public to, hey, this guy's doing this all the time, let us know, we'll set up on it. Be the squeaky wheel, bring it to our attention. We see this a lot with ATVs as well, another high risk activity to stop. We've got I just put $8,000 into a new ATV rail for the accessories and a new side by side. So we're gonna try to address some of the issues that we're seeing in Burt having their sport fields related to ATVs. Big problem in Pierre
It's a
Drive.
problem here too,
Yeah, big problem.
because I live on Kitchener and St. Andrews, and I don't think a week goes by, I don't see a four-wheeler on the road.
Yeah, it's problematic.
But just to pick up what you said, you used to set up the roadside sobriety checks in front of my house.
Mhm.
I don't think I've seen you there in 2 years.
That is something I will bring up and, yeah, sometimes you gotta tell them where to go and. Like right now, my priority this week to tell them where to go is, I'm a lot of issues in Lower Truro.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Related to the homelessness situation there,
Mhm.
and a lot of break and enters, theft, crime. I saw 2 files just from there last night. One was a dog bite, one was some kind of overdose. So, so we're gonna go where you counselors tell us and constituents tell
Yeah,
us. That
okay.
that's what-
Because my wife doesn't get home till 6 o'clock at night. So Miko and I sit in the front steps, chairs, whatever. And we see the cars racing up and down. As soon as it comes to St. Andrew Street, it's game on. And they just take up the road and the sidewalk's right beside the road and it's slanted. And I'm afraid of children getting hit because I've had a son hit by a car.
Mm.
And I remember a young lady getting hit by, I can still visualize her flying through the air.
Mm.
And I just shake my head, them whipping up. I know you can't be everywhere all the time, I got that. But if
Yeah, no, yeah, this is the, you need to tell us this stuff and then reach out. I have some counselors, writing me, Marie Benoit and Lisa Patton and them, so yeah. You will not offend me by reaching out to me, that like, I strive to be accessible.
Okay,
And I strive to, I'm not saying I'm gonna be able to fix the problem, but I will listen to you, so write me, send me email, call me.
okay, I get-
It's really important you do that. Got some young members now, like I mentioned, Braden Wiley, he's just down the road, he's got an experienced police officer join us, he was a Mountie out in Saskatchewan. Came back to Halifax Region Police, did a couple of years there, but he's remounted, as they call it. And he's about 27, 28 years old, and he is a firecracker. In his first month, he's just setting everything on fire. And he lives just in Lance there, so yeah. If I tell him to start up here and
Town Road and Kitchener, Town Road and Kitchener.
yeah, it's so yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, well, it's just beyond where I live, my driveway is just before that. So, yeah,
Yeah, so, yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so basically what you're saying to me is if I sent you an email,
Yeah, be a squeaky wheel.
yeah,
Or
okay.
like pros, you follow shiny objects, right?
Yeah.
So there's, Colchester RCMP is very under-resourced for the area we have. The call volume, the large area. And I'd like to explain that and prioritizing the concerns is the number one thing, so, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Should I answer?
Well, there's lots of questions, I mean, I'm sure, you know. What about mental health, like,
Yeah.
it's a huge
Yeah,
issue.
it's out of control. So what, some of the initiatives, we've taken recently is, working with Nova Scotia Health, for this crisis intervention training. And, myself as a district commander, and I know Sergeant Young, the commander of Millbrook, are on the complex case committee. So that's address, those regular calls we're getting every night. These are probably, in some cases, people with your borderline personality disorders, who are calling every day and really tying up police resources because we end up taking them to the hospital and stuff like that. But we've worked with NS Health to get this crisis intervention team, and there's a consultation line. And it's been just amazing since I put 7 of our supervisors and team leads on this in November. So we're getting that person who's in crisis, who's not on their medication or just a regular, and we're able to call NS Health directly. And they're able to set up appointments and get these people in without us taking them into the ER. Where they have to, we often sit for hours on end, like I'm talking 8-10 hours, tying up a member. It's been very productive. Just today, I was speaking with NS Health in New Glasgow, and I have 4 members slotted for a course in May. No, 6 members for slotted course in May. And I was dealing with NS Health in Cumberland, and they've got additional training coming in the fall. So it's just win-win because it's freeing up our officers. It's also really the proper response with these people suffering mental health crisis, because these are not criminals. Sometimes they show criminal behavior, yeah, but really the issue is a mental health issue, and it's more empathetic and it's meeting their often complex needs. So yeah, it's been working real well. So that's something that's on the up and up for us. And let's see, just since November, I had 7 officers going that I front loaded it. I even drew in some of the outside districts like Indian Brook, East Hants, Cumberland, and Millbrook to get on that train as well with us. So because we often work, Millbrook especially, like we go to their calls, they go to our calls, like yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I guess one other thing I didn't add is in, Bible Hill Detachment, aside from major crime and ident at that location, there is Northeast Traffic Services, so they're also around doing, traffic enforcement on, the major highways, yeah, so. So once again, if you bring that to my attention, I will put that on the Sergeant Buster, hey, I'm getting complaints here, and they'll just hammer it. For the NS Stampede, we brought in the traffic, units, and they wrote 250 tickets, from Thursday to Sunday on the 100 series highways. The first night, the Thursday night of the Stampede, I think they ended up with 5 impaired drivers, whatever the number is, don't quote me on that, 4 impaired drivers. And it just set a tone for the weekend, yeah, so that, we can front load when needed, so, yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? I thank you for your time. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Keep us posted when you're having the meeting. Let's do it.
Town, all next week, you're welcome, and, I will work on, others, this, just to, about it all, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Drive safe.
Thanks again.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Next, we'll move along for the attendance for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference. Did you want to read the motion?
I certainly can, so basically the motion was referred from committee of the whole to council. To be resolved, representative for the town of Scotia, they will attend the 2025 FCM conference where you Mayor Doug Glasser and Councillor David LeBlanc. And that the rotation for the 2026 conference will be the CAO and 1 member of council. This rotation will stand for the full return of council with all duration each year as per the policy. The motion is on the floor.
Perfect. Can I call for a first?
Actually, we make the motion, so we have to make the motion. Staff can't make the motion. So I'll make a motion that our representative for the 2025 FCM be Mayor Doug Glasser and Councillor David LeBlanc. And that we continue to follow the policy that's outlined.
Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Susie? Councilor? All in favor?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I was reading material over, I noticed that when we make the motion for Councilor Osborne to go. Further resolve, the council will assume all costs associated with Councilor.
We're not on that, David.
I know, but let me make my point, and my point is, it's not in this one, the first one. Doesn't say anything about all costs.
It's,
It's reflected in the 2024-25 budget to
Oh, okay.
send the 2 council members to the conference.
Okay. Oh, okay, I get it, my mistake, I apologize, I just got it.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor LeBlanc. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Luke
Oh,
seconded.
that's right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move on to point 3, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board vacancy. The motion that the council was recommended at the committee of the whole on January the 9th.
Page, that's the preamble, and then the motion is recommended by council is on the last page.
The motion whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities representatives interest of the members of municipalities on the policy and programming matters that fall within federal jurisdiction. Whereas FCM board number of directors is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions and sizes of communities to form a broad base of support and provide FCM with the united voice required to carry the municipality message to the federal government. And whereas there is a current vacancy on the FCM board of directors for the remainder of 2024-25 board term. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Stewiacke endorse Councillor Pam Osborne to stand as the to stand for the election on the FCM Board of Directors for the period starting in March 2025, ending in June 2025, and be it further resolved that the council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Pam Osborne attending FCM board of director meetings. Can I call for first?
I'll move it.
Councillor LeBlanc, a seconder,
Second it.
Councillor Lutz, all in favor? Opposed? Question,
Discussion, yes,
discussion?
because I do,
Okay.
discussion point.
Yes.
I don't like the term, and I don't know if there's a way that we can figure it out, but assumes all costs. That's a very broad,
Well, that was kind of my.
that's a very broad term.
Well, the all cost as far as it would go would be her flights, her hotel and her per diem, would it not?
That's correct. Just a point of order, your worship, that the discussion on this should have occurred before the motion was voted on. The motion has now been voted on and
Yes.
carried based on the process, so
Okay,
the wording shall stand now, but we can make notes of this for the budget discussions to firm up what the costs will.
Yeah, I didn't vote, so I'm gonna say no. It still passed, but I didn't. Because there was no discussion called.
But you got my point. If I may ask, Mr. Mayor, should there be a discussion in the bylaw committee about cost of things like this?
The bylaws, you're referring to our per diem?
Well, per diems, but what else what other costs would there be other than plane, motel, per diems? I don't know.
There shouldn't be any.
Okay. See, I trusted the CEO will monitor all this, and so is Helen. And, but again. Anyway, I'm satisfied.
if I may, the policy clearly outlines what expenses are covered. For anyone attending the FCM or the NSFM. Our policy that we already have in place already covers all that. So I'm
So
not,
all costs fall under our policies.
yes,
And you're following the costs of our policies.
yes. Anyone who attends any conference. Just as three of us did in the fall.
Right.
It's all under that same policy.
Councilor Osborne is correct, so the policy clearly states what expenses are eligible. The general three expenses that are incurred on educational opportunities like this for council would be the registration cost of attending the conference, airfare or mileage, and any meals associated with the per diem rates. The per diem rate has been raised, and that can go to the bylaw and policy committee for review, but we can look at that as well.
What did you just say? I'm sorry, sir, I didn't.
So the per diem rate can go to the bylaw and policy committee as well for review. And that can come forward as a recommendation to make changes as well.
No, okay. Because I looked up the federal per diem. Quite different from the province. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, I'm satisfied.
Thank you. We'll move on to other business, the bylaw and policies, there were none received. Citizens' comments, if there are any residents at the meetings, which there aren't. Do we have anything online?
Seems to be comments in the chat. There are no comments in the chat. There are 11 participants online.
Couple on the Q&A.
Q&A. Can the RCMP updates be shared with the public for Styriak Town? Also South Colchester, yeah, so RCMP updates will go into the SDO report.
Their report, I have nothing to report. We'll pass it on to Councilor, or the Deputy Mayor. Rogers Lang.
I have nothing to report.
Councilor Osborne.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor LeBlanc.
I attended the Northern Region, no. I attended the finance management for elected officials workshop by Zoom on January 7th, 9th, and 14th from 6 p.m. to 7:30. And I also attended the Northern Region Waste Resource Committee meeting on January 17th at 2:20 this year from 10 a.m. till the fire alarm went off at 11:30.
Thank you.
Nothing.
All right. In time session, we have none, notice of motion and reconsideration, we have none. I will call for adjournment at 8:20 p.m. All right.